So, how many of you guys have ever been in an argument with your Fox News watching family member and you said to yourself, do they ever hear any facts on Fox? Do they ever actually get to hear any real truth? Well, I really don't think they're hearing it from any of the anchors there because they're always going to be doubling down on their fear and paranoia and propaganda. But Pete Buttigieg recently went on Fox News and just absolutely laid down some facts. And it was so good to see. And I want to start with this first clip here where he's saying, yeah, those of us on the left, we're very aware of President Biden. We're aware of his accomplishments. We're also aware that he's an older man these days. And he points out that MAGA is not living in reality. And I love this clip. Take a look.
We're all aware of how he's doing. Our country has watched our president lead. And yes, we've also seen the fact that he's 10 years older than he was 10 years ago. But unlike Republicans, right, who in Trump's personality cult will take a look at Donald Trump and say he's perfectly fine, even though he seemed unable to tell the difference between Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, even though he's rambling about electrocuting sharks and Hannibal Lecter, even though he is clearly older and stranger than he was when America first got to know him. They say he's strong as an ox, leaps tall buildings in a single bound. Well, we don't have that kind of warped reality on our side. Well, on the contrary, the president confronted that reality in what must have been one of the most difficult decisions for an American president to make ever. And he did something that I don't think Donald Trump could even conceive of doing, which is putting his own interests aside for the country. Well,
I love that. We don't have that warped reality on our side, folks. They do. And I truly don't understand how they can still be hanging in there with Trump today. How do you go out to one of his rallies and listen to him ramble on about a battery and a shark? Hear him sit there and do all of his stupid little hits every time and think that he has your best interest at heart or think that he has a clue in hell what he's actually talking about, because it's just gibberish to me. It's just absolutely incoherent gibberish that in any other world would never be taken seriously. It's only taken seriously amongst his cult members, and it's so bizarre to me. Because, I'm a musician and I know that a lot of people will follow their favorite band from town to town. And, I used to go check out back in the day, I used to go watch every drive-by trucker show I could be at. I've seen them over close to 50 times now. And I used to go to every show I could see. And they would change up their set list and give me a new show every night. It would be great. You never knew what to expect. And that's what I loved. But with Trump, he just goes out there and continues to play the same thing over and over and over. And if he does have the followers that goes from rally to rally, are they actually going from rally to rally and listen to the battery and shark bit and be like, here it is. We can't wait till he does this one. It boggles my mind that people take the guy seriously. It really does. And the saddest part is when I bump into people that are otherwise seems to be pretty smart people, but they're falling for it too. That part will always truly baffle me. But I love that Pete just keeps laying it in, just keeps bringing the facts, because we know that one of Trump's biggest things he loves to talk about is the border. And every problem we have is coming from the border, according to Trump. And Pete just comes with the facts, folks.
Border crossings are down in the wake of President Biden's executive actions that he took after Congress failed to act.
So he could have taken action.
He wanted Congress to resolve that because that would have been more durable. But when Trump came in, talked Republicans out of their own bipartisan project because he didn't want the issue to get better. Remember, the worse things are at the border, the better things get for Donald Trump. So he has a vested interest in it remaining chaotic down there. I think this also helps to explain why he didn't exactly conclusively solve it when it was his turn. But I saw something else really important happening at the Republican National Convention on the border and the talk about immigration, which we all recognize is a problem, which is they tried to paint this narrative that if you live somewhere far from the border and immigration hasn't affected you personally, you need to think that immigration is a driver of crime. That was the real message. Immigration leads to crime.
Well, there are blue state governors and mayors who say every state is a border state now. That's Democrats.
Yeah, and now they're saying, but what the false message of the RNC was that this is leading to an increase in crime.
Well,
and I think it's really important that we talk about
have
crime.
been very high profile about people.
Of course,
Had they not been in this country
cases,
illegally,
but this is my
people
point,
would still
right?
be alive.
Trying to make people think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network, so if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
Well, we invite that.
Great. So if you look this up at home, you will know that crime went down under Biden and crime went up under
Certain
Trump, and I
categories.
think the violent crime, for sure. So I think the really important thing to ask is, why would America want to go back to the higher crime that we experienced under Donald Trump?
My biggest hope here is that viewers of Fox News, a few of them at least, when he said that, actually said, hold on a minute, let's go look that up. Let's see if he's telling the truth. And when they looked it up and realized he was telling the truth, I hope they had some sort of moment where maybe they started to realize, you know what? We've been duped. We've been lied to. I know that may be wishful thinking. I know a lot of you is probably thinking, Brando, they will never do that. But I really feel like a lot of times, folks, there are reasonable people that are in these families and they just go along with it because Mama and Papa does. They just go along with it because their loud, obnoxious brother does, and they don't want to argue with him at Sunday dinner. But I really feel like they're sitting back on the ropes watching and they're listening, and they hear someone like Pete Buttigieg on Fox News. He's eloquent. He's well-spoken. There's not a bunch of hatred. There's not a bunch of cruelty. There's not a bunch of one-liners and insults coming from him. He's just laying down facts, and you can easily just pull out your phone and look it up for yourself and realize that, yeah, he can back up every word he says with facts. So will he get through to the hardcore cultists? I doubt it. But there could be those people who are still on the fence. And I don't get it either, folks. I don't know how you can still be on the fence at this point in the game, but there are people that are. And so maybe those people looked it up and went, huh, okay, he was telling the truth. And this next part, I say this one for last because I love it. Right here, he starts talking about how Donald Trump, the only two promises Donald Trump kept was doing away with Roe versus Wade and giving tax cuts to the wealthy. I absolutely love this one. Take a look.
Most, whether we're talking about choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states, to be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, I mean, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believe was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
Well, but even before the pandemic, even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep two promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are hashing this out
empower the states to eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion ban.
Which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him. Because he lies all the time.
You think that his pledge that he would not pass a national ban is one that
it's one that's going to go down with most of the promises that he's made and broken.
Let's talk about this, though.
So, yeah, my hope here is that someone who watches Fox News hears that and starts to question things and starts to go, you know what? What was in it for me? He only took away rights from women and he only gave tax cuts to his rich buddies. Especially if you're a woman watching Fox News, you got to stop and say to yourself, what was in it for me? How was my life made any better? Now my reproductive rights have been stripped away from me, and I didn't get a tax break. His rich buddies did. So how can you honestly sit and think that Donald Trump cares about you? And when it comes to women who support Donald Trump, I've sat and scratched my head about that one for a long time. And the only answer I can come up with is that there are women in this world who just absolutely thrives on a toxic man being in their life. And I don't understand it, but if they feel like they can fix somebody, then they will stick around and they will take their abuse. And here's the kicker. You know, you can have that crazy wild boyfriend that the whole family hates, and you can say, well, I'm trying to change him and make him a better person. And you know what? If you try long enough, you might succeed with that dude, but you ain't ever going to succeed with Donald Trump. You ain't never going to change him for the better. You're not ever going to make him come around and see your way of thinking. All he did was take rights away from you, and all he did was give his rich friends a tax break. Every other promise he made, he failed to keep it. So we're not living in a warped reality. And if more people that watches Fox News would start actually doing a little bit of fact checking, they would realize that they're the ones in a warped reality. And if they would stop shouting at the screen whenever I'm talking and trolling me and dig in and start looking, you know what? We've been played, we've been conned, and this dude was just simply trying to point it out. And I know that I heard a quote one time that was so true. It said, when someone dupes someone else, they'll forgive the person that duped them before they will forgive the person who told them they were duped. And I really do believe that. I believe there will be people long after Trump's gone that will forgive Trump for duping them before they will forgive old Brando for pointing it out. But that's okay, because if there was one person set back on the fence, and trust me, I get messages every day from people who says, you know what, Brando, you made me think. If I did that, then I did my job. I just wanted to make people think. And for those people sitting there on the fence, the ones that goes to Sunday dinner and dreads it when politics comes up, and they hear all this stuff coming at them and they question if it's true, just listen to the facts, go look for yourself, and you'll realize what a warped reality Donald Trump has created.